Show me the charts and I will tell you the news.
Damn, hustling, 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 hustling,
It's your
hustling,
boy,
hustling,
Ski.
hustling, 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 hustling.
Welcome back to the Matrix. You're not just in the Matrix, you are the Matrix. How's it feel, Neo? And today we got ourselves a banger daily market news and analysis. It is April 29th, 2025. And of course, the top story: China removes 125% tariffs on the U.S. ethane imports. And this is definitely a big turn of events. And, you know, everyone's sort of seen the tariffs. It means two things. Either A, it's a renegotiation tactic, or B, it really means a massive global recession to the likes that we've never seen. I'm placing my bets, and what the charts are showing me is this is a game of chicken and it's going to get resolved. So we're going to get into the analysis today, but I want to quickly touch on the other big thing. This is more in regards with Bitcoin. Is Arizona approves the first ever U.S. Bitcoin reserve, set to invest 10% of the $31 billion into the state's assets. So this is a big deal. Arizona is not a massive state, but this is just another domino. And what we talked about yesterday was the perfect storm that is forming in the cryptocurrency market. And this is, to me, very much accumulation. So we're looking at Bitcoin on the 5-hour chart. Not only is it deep in accumulation, but this is selling climax, secondary test in phase B, and your spring. Of course, this is what I'm talking about. The textbook selling climax, secondary test in phase B goes lower than the selling climax, and the spring goes lower than the secondary test in phase B. The big question is, are we working on about to get our LPS, or are we clearly already at the sign of strength? And if you look at it on the 5-hour chart, I would argue that we're clearly on the sign of strength and already chopping at the sign of strength like textbook would indicate. So that could be good, but there is a case to be made that we're going to get a back test here to about $88,000 as the LPS. Ultimately, for Bitcoin, I think that the bottom is in. I'm going to let the market dictate me. I'm encouraged by multiple things. The narratives are just showing up out of nowhere like they always tend to do. We have broken multiple months of a downtrend at this point. Ethereum is finally starting to wake up and starting to do its grueling up like we talked about yesterday. Or even this is the most recent example of how this kind of structure at the finality, when you get into your sign of strength, how it kind of plays out, because this was Wyckoff reaccumulation schematics. And here's how it looks. Once you start to break this downtrend, right? So you had a lower low structure and a higher low structure. This is Bitcoin, of course, from March of 2024 until October of 2024. Once you start to break that and you start making your higher low structure, it kind of just gruels its way or waddles its way until you start to make your higher highs. And then it's a quick move, as you can see right here for Bitcoin. And so I would argue with Ethereum, with Bitcoin, a lot of the other things, that's kind of what we're seeing right now, is we're just making these higher low structures, just kind of grueling our way out of here. The big question is, we've been following this fractal for a while. Are we going to get a back test or not? Either way, things are looking very good, especially with Ethereum. One thing that I will say, that I do believe that the altcoins are a beat behind Bitcoin. Bitcoin is further ahead on the accumulation, where I think that the altcoins are just now breaking out of the downtrend. Whereas when we look at Bitcoin, it broke out multiple weeks ago already. So I think that Bitcoin and Ethereum, is well ahead. Bitcoin is well ahead of Ethereum, where it's just kind of at the same little spot right here, where Bitcoin was on this downtrend. Ethereum has been on this downtrend for a long time and is just now broken out. And when Bitcoin broke out of the downtrend, we can see that it just chopped kind of sideways here. And that seems to be what Ethereum is doing, just this little chop sideways before having a bigger move to the upside. For Bitcoin's case, it's at the micro 0.5 Fibonacci retracement. So I do think that Bitcoin is a beat ahead of the altcoins, and especially Ethereum. And this perhaps could be a good thing, and we might even have a setup where Ethereum could even have, or Bitcoin could even have a back test back to 90K, 88K, anywhere in there. And Ethereum and the altcoins could continue to rise or even chop sideways, just because of where Bitcoin dominance is at, where it's just so overbought at this point. But if this were to continue to play for Ethereum and we get the same sort of structure, we would anticipate a move, minimum to $2,700 for Ethereum in a short amount of time. And I think a lot of the coins that have really suffered because of Ethereum's lackluster performance, like Rose, Link, VeChain, Flux, all these other coins, Quant, that are based on the Ethereum ecosystem, that have just been crushed because of this downtrend. Because we talk about this, rising tides floats all ships. If the sun is setting, then everything in that has nighttime, and so that's what it's been for Ethereum and everything that's been on that ecosystem. But to me, it's firmly broken out of this downtrend, and it's just sort of in this moment here of just chopping sideways, this sort of like, are we sure we really broke out? And once the market gets confirmation of that, it tends to go relatively quickly. So that is what I anticipate for Ethereum. The thing that I'm still keeping my eye on is Bitcoin dominance. Nothing big today, but it's sort of just kind of grueling down. And once we make a lower low here, 63.68%, that to me is the critical level when we can confirm that the UTAD is already in. But the structure is here. And of course, this is the reverse of accumulation, which is what measures a bottom. This is textbook of distribution. So that's the big thing we're looking for. Can we finally make a lower low? All things are pointing towards a bearish divergence for Bitcoin dominance. So that's going to be the last thing that we're looking for. Keeping my eye on the Ethereum dominance as well. Seems like it has found a little bit of support over here. And this was 5 years, a 5-year low that it found support off of. So if we could start making structure here, this does look like an accumulation structure here, where you get your selling climax and then your secondary test in phase B. If we can make a higher low, that would be good, especially for Bitcoin and the altcoins. One thing that I want to bring in full circle with the tariffs and with the news today that China is going to be, they're going to pause the tariffs, and the Arizona Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Everyone is anticipating, or has been anticipating, especially when we were at lower prices of 75K, that these tariffs are going to be terrible things. But what has actually happened is when the tariffs went into place, that was the bottom, right? That was the bottom. When they actually went into effect, that was the bottom. And what we've seen is over 70 plus countries have renegotiated, and even China now, the one that everyone anticipated to be the furthest away from negotiating, is, they're backing off. So that to me is definitely something. Now, I will say in the more micro term, when we look on the daily, we are definitely getting hot at this point. 76. It's not crazy hot. We can definitely go higher, as we can see over here. We got all the way up to the 90s. But I would anticipate a back test of the prior range. In the short term, we were at a retracement level, at a macro retracement level as well, for sure. So that's something to keep in mind. Are we going to get through the 618 and the 702? Most of the time you don't. Most of the time you get rejected and you come back to minimum the 382 or even the 236. So that's how I'm going to be playing things. But in the macro, to me, the bottoming structure is in. We're just working on filling out the structure, and we're going to move our way out of here, in my opinion. Now, one thing to keep in mind for some of the altcoins, XMR seems to be an early mover of a full-on breakout at the retracement levels, and you can see a big wick up here, and we're already back to the 382. So a lot of times this has led the market. Link a lot of times is a market leader. Dogecoin is a market leader. XMR has been a market leader. Litecoin has been a market leader. So these are all different coins that I'm going to be paying attention to. The one that I'm paying attention to right now as well is SUI. Specifically the market cap of SUI. Again, this is a full-on retracement to the 618, and it's starting to get hot. This looks like most of our structure is going to catch up to this. Is Ethereum going to catch up to this? Is these ecosystems going to catch up to this? That is going to be my bet. I do anticipate these to backtest. My target for SUI is getting north of $30 billion market cap. I don't care what the price of SUI gets to. Once you get to that market cap, that is the true price. That is the true parabolic, because when you're fighting with inflation, you must measure market cap in order to get the real price. But that's going to be it for this time. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow me on YouTube and TikTok. Hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload. We're going to be uploading every single day. Peace, love, prosperity. God first. God bless.
Damn, hustling, 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 hustling,
It's your
hustling,
boy,
hustling,
Ski.
hustling, 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 hustling.